Hello and welcome to another episode of Live 605. I'm your host, Con Casanzidis from the Stray Whisker. I'm also AKA Shave the Man. And you could be watching us on YouTube, the Stray Whisker channel. And of course, we're streaming live through Facebook Live. And I am very much alive, thankfully. I hope all of you are well. You had a great week and decided that this week we would do something that we haven't done for some time, and that is to have a Q&A, a quick, it should be a Q&A. It should be a quick question and answer. A lot of people ask questions and I don't get a chance to get to them, and sometimes people may feel ignored. I hope that's not the case at all. So we will be going through Q&A. I've got some questions already lined up, so and don't go away, particularly if you're some of the ladies out there. There's some questions that pertain specifically to our lady audience. It's growing. It's funny that we're getting more and more women watching this show, which is quite encouraging. I encourage all of you to let others know about this show. Let them know. We try and get in there, answer some questions, come in and, do the best we possibly can. If you're new here, of course, as always, put in new so we can throw you up on the screen and, throw the spotlight on you. Speaking of spotlights, of course, we will be doing a product spotlight this afternoon. And if you check the blurb for this particular show, you'll know that it is a product that is new to our store. Well, not really that new. I mean, it's something that I've evaluated and come to the conclusion that it's probably worthy of your consideration. And that is from our good friends at Tabac. So we'll be talking about that, a new product newish product that they have released. And we will discuss that briefly. And I'll give you my thoughts on that, my honest thoughts on that, what I think of the product and whether I think you should be giving it a go. If you're sitting on the fence, and there is a very big Tabac fence, and some people are well and truly on one side of it, and others are happily dancing and rejoicing on the in Camp Tabac. Anyway, who we got here? Shaving with Peg Leg. Hello, nice to see you. Yeah, you're on YouTube. Okay, great. It's working. YouTube works. We're also on Twitter. So I don't know. I watch some live on Twitter, but it tends to be a bit choppy anyway. But it's there. It's there for you to watch on repeat. And if you are watching this on repeat, why are you doing this to yourself? No, I shouldn't say that. It's all good. It's all very, 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 very good. Okay, questions. We'll get into it straight away. I don't want to hold up too much of your time because I realize that time is of the essence. Time is very, very important. Maestro, hey, hola, ¿cómo estás, señor? I hope you're well, Eric. It's nice to see you on the live. We miss you. I've seen you for a while, but that's okay. People are busy. I know you've been a very busy man yourself. So, yes, we're going to talk some questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them below. Put a little Q and say, this is my question. And I will attempt to minimize making a fool of myself and seeing if I can answer that question for you. Always great. Yes, it is. I'm gushing, Eric. I'm gushing. It's you are. I wish I could get over there to the States and visit you and all my other friends and people that I consider to be my family. Anyway, enough syrup. It's very syrupy. I know if you haven't been there, you just don't. But it's one of those things. Okay. Well, question one. So just to kick things off, and remember, if you've got a question, type it down below. Put Q question. Question one, this is one that I've been asked in one form or another. Well, of course, this pertains to legs, but you could apply it to your head or your face, whatever. Does shaving your legs cause the hair to grow back thicker and darker? The simple answer to this is no, it does not. If that were the case, I would have an afro. My hair would be out here and look like the Jackson 5. Look it up, Google it, those of you who are too young to remember the Jackson 5. But your hair does feel like it is thicker when you shave it, and that is because shaving produces a clean cut and squares off the hair, the follicle, and when it starts to grow back, you think, wow, it's getting thicker. It is not. As the hair moves through the hair follicle, the shaft, it starts to fine out at the end, and you'll find that it gets very, very, it'll become softer. You get split ends in some cases, and so on and so forth. And so it does not feel as thick as it did on the first 2 or 3 or 4 days of regrowth. So darker, we'll talk about darker in a minute, but thicker, definitely not. It feels thicker when you run your hand over the skin. You feel like the hair is thicker, but that will soon, I mean, it's obvious. If you leave there are some ladies that may leave their hair for 8 weeks, particularly in these lockdown times. There are people that haven't shaved in 12 weeks or 6 months. Is the hair thicker? No, there's more of it, yes. It's more visible, yes. But it hasn't in any way become thicker, as I say, only when you shave it. Darker is an interesting one because that has to do with pigmentation. So as one gets older, the amount of pigmentation in your hair starts to decline, and you get what's happening over here, this sort of salt and pepper, or mainly salt these days, not much pepper. I need more pepper in my life just to spice things up a bit. But this feels, if I shave this goatee within a day or two, I will feel a really, really tough stubble because pigmentation also contributes to the hair feeling softer. So here is the good news. If you have pigmentation in your leg hair, in other words, you haven't gone white, and that usually doesn't happen as much as it does on the face or anywhere else, then you'll find that the hair will be, so if there's no pigmentation, it'll feel thicker, but that has nothing to do with it coming back thicker because you shaved it. So unfortunately, shaving your hair does not make it thicker. It makes it feel thicker initially, and then it eventually, true to form and genetics and various other factors, does what it does, and that sort of feels thin to the touch. So that's that question. I mean, it's people that ride very, very fast push bikes shave their legs, and if they don't shave their legs for a while, their hair doesn't grow back thicker and darker. Usually, that's the caveat there. Who have we got here? We've got Alex. G'day, how are you, Alex? Nice to see you on the live again, my friend. I hope you're well. I hope everyone's well, the family's well. It's always good to see people that we know and we see around the traps. Yes. My question is, what is the meaning of life? Yes. Well, if you're Douglas Adams, the meaning of life is, was it 46? Is that the meaning of life? Oh, anyway, whatever it is. It's 42. There you go. I added a number of 4 on top of that. The meaning of life is 42. That's it, and I'm going to stick to it. Okay, next question, and then hopefully this may start off a flurry of questions. Probably not, but who knows if it does. The next question is an interesting one. Does applying petroleum jelly under your perfume or cologne make the scent last longer? Here in Australia, the petroleum jelly that they're probably referring to is Vaseline. I'm sure it's the same in the United States. When we speak of petroleum jelly, generally speaking, we speak of Vaseline, or to use the colloquial, Vaso, right? There is some logic to this. Allow me to explain. So, if your skin is hydrated, well hydrated, you will project further and your perfume will last longer. Perfume / cologne and dry skin present a problem. So my research into this particular question, and ladies do this quite a bit, they put a little bit of this petroleum jelly on those points, and then spray their cologne. I mean, I'm not suggesting you put Vaseline all over your body unless you're planning to cross the English Channel. You're going to swim across the English Channel. So just in those points, spray the cologne, and you will find that it will project. This is the whole, philosophy, the ideology behind that. It works. It does work. But it's not the petroleum jelly per se that's working. So I'm not suggesting you go out and buy tubs of Vaseline and put it all over your body and then put on your cologne. It has to do, and it is a function of moisturizing your skin. If your skin is moisturized, your projection of your cologne or perfume or whatever you're wearing will last longer. If you have dry skin, unfortunately, you're not going to project. And this is why some people wear cologne and you think, oh my God, I can smell that guy. What are you wearing? Look at you. You have body type, skin type. Some people have oily skin and they tend to. Problem with having overhydrated skin is that sometimes you project too much scent, if you know what I mean. So, am I suggesting you buy Vaseline and go and rub it on you? No, don't do that. In the absence of a high quality, fragrance-free as much as possible moisturizer, then I suppose it will work. And you don't need too much, just a small amount, and then spray on it, and that's it. So yes, the petroleum jelly thing does work. Do I suggest it? No, I don't suggest it because I don't want to put petrolatum on my skin, which is what petroleum jelly is, a byproduct of some questionable chemical processes that occur. So I would rather keep my skin hydrated. So what I would suggest, you come out of the shower, you pat yourself dry-ish, always leave some, just come out, but don't try and be, don't try and dry yourself too much. Feel like you've come out of the shower and then go nuts. Spray your cologne or perfume and you're out the door. You'll find that will project through the day. So moisturized skin will perform, or colognes will perform better on moisturized skin. You don't have to use petroleum jelly or Vaseline or whatever the case may be to achieve that. Just make sure that you have hydrated properly. And that is it. Right, do we have any questions here? Rugby players put Vaseline on their legs so they can slip through the tackles. Yes. I'm wondering how many tackles Bulldogs players will be slipping through this year. So it's a quandary, it's a question, it's a good question. Anyway, yes. Eric, my preference, vegan or tallow-based soaps? Right. I have used outstanding tallow-based soaps, and I have used really, really good and outstanding vegetal or vegan-based soaps. The formulation is very, very important, okay? If the person that's making the soap has formulated this in such a way that it produces great lather, great post-shave feel, then there's no reason why, a vegan soap or a tallow soap, I would be on one side more than the other. Having said that, I have found that more often than not, a tallow-based soap on completion of the shave makes my skin feel a little more nourished, makes it feel softer, and I feel that if I was to walk out of the bathroom and not put any aftershave on or not put any post-shave balm or anything like that on, I'd be okay. I have felt that less with vegan or vegetable-based soaps. Now, I've also felt very good after a vegan-based soap. Have felt that I didn't need to hydrate. But more often than not, I feel it with a tallow-based soap, you can get away with not putting on a balm if it's a high-quality tallow-based soap. The flip side of that is that when you've got tallow-based soap, please use it. Unless it's a hard soap, please use it, because after a while, tallow-based soaps tend to have this sort of fatty, there's a smell, okay? And quite often what people do to try and mask that is they up the ante in terms of the scent, perhaps to mask it, but also because people that, love a tallow-based soap probably also love their scents. But there is kind of a sort of, I won't say rancid, but it's approaching a rancidity. It's like it's gone off. It's like, hey, well, it's animal fat, right? So use it. If you like tallow-based soaps, use them. Don't think that putting a tallow-based soap on a shelf for 3 or 4 years, unless there are some preservatives in there, is going to. The smell changes. There's a fatty smell to it, and those that use it will know. I mean, it's exactly, it is what it is. That's how that particular thing. So, what is my preference? I prefer soaps that make my skin feel great after I've had a shave and make me feel like if I didn't use a post-shave balm or an aftershave, whatever, I'd be great. And that means that tallow-based soaps are going to do that more often than not. However, vegan-based soaps at the moment are doing, there's some makers out there that are doing really, really, really good stuff. And they're producing high-quality soaps where the skin doesn't feel like it needs an aftershave, although I love, who wouldn't want to put aftershave on? So I don't think I've answered your question. Yes, I have answered your question. I love both, but I found that tallow gives me a better post-shave feel and makes me feel that if I didn't have aftershave and walk straight out of the bathroom after I've shaved, I'd be okay. Vegetable-based soaps, some of them do not make me feel that way. Some of them get a bit draggy. That feels a bit, the skin doesn't feel quite, it just feels dry, kind of dries it a little bit. But formulations have improved. I hope that answers your question, Eric. Do we have any other questions here? No, we don't. Right. Well, so this is the Edwin. Hello, sir. How are you? Lovely to see you. It's nice to see. It's good to see all these old friends, you know. I love it. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask them below. That is the thing. A lot of people want to know whether there's a preference. Look, it's like saying, do you like, okay, I'm going to use alcohol as an example. Do you like Scotch whiskey or bourbon? Now, they're both called whiskies, but we know that the whole conversation around bourbon and whiskey can be quite contentious. I've had beautiful bourbons, absolutely stunning bourbons, made with such craft and absolutely stunning. I've had some rubbish bourbons too, absolute rubbish, right? This doesn't mean that I'm going to write off bourbons altogether. I've had some good whiskey. I've had some bad whiskies too. So if the people are at the top of their game in making bourbons and making Scotch whiskey, whether it's whiskey with an EY or whiskey just Y, that's another conversation for another time, then I would say, it depends on the artisan that's making the product. But we've got to compare apples with apples. Both of these, going back to the soap, both of them are designed to give you a good shave, slickness, and all the rest of it, and that's fine. If it can achieve that with tallow, hurrah. If it can achieve that with a non-tallow-based soap, that's great. To come down on one over the other, I think we're splitting hairs. Right. You said you recently have changed your style of lather. Please explain. Yes, my style of lather. So essentially what happens, Leon, is that when you enter this, when you start shaving, wet shaving, there's a technique. You pick up the soap, bring out the brush, and you start loading it, and then you generate a lather. And we somehow think that that is how every single soap should work. Creating a lather is like taking a vehicle through terrain. The vehicle needs to get from A to B, but if the terrain is a sand dune, or if it's a rocky road, or if it's a sealed road, or if it's a dirt road or whatever, I'm going to change the conditions. In other words, you have to adapt. This cookie cutter approach of producing, getting a lather for a cream, for example, is not, obviously, and you would know this, is not the same as, doing, what you would do if you were lathering a triple milled soap. Generally what I've done across the board, regardless of what is, I tend to go very, very carefully with water. I don't soak, I might soak my brush, but I make sure that it's completely wrung out. I start with I'm not going to say a dry brush, but just a damp brush, not a very, 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 very wet brush. So that's the first thing I've done. Before, I used to get the brush, just give it a shake quickly, or just wring it out once and go for it, and then work like hell to try and get a lather. If the soap was a great soap that worked well, it would lather beautifully. If it wasn't, I had to work a little bit more. Now, I've cut back on the water to begin with. That's the first thing. The second thing is I load heavier than I used to. This business of, look at this, 2 twirls and I can get a lather. Good. I'm sure next time it'll become an Olympic sport that you can do. Maybe we should apply for the Olympic Committee and see if Olympics, we can have the 2 twirl lathering scenario. And I'm not suggesting, with all due respect to you, that that's what you do, Leon, but this is what I'm saying, that a lot of people think, the less I'm going to load it less and it's going to come out amazing. Well, what are you doing? No. pare back, throw things out, and then bring in what you're doing and do it very, 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 very incrementally. It's like cooking. Put too much in a dish, you're going to spoil it. Add incrementally, and you'll do really, really well. So what I've done, I've pared back on the water, I've increased my load time, and secondly, I consciously spend more time building the lather on my face. Usually, I don't bowl lather that much, but I build the lather on my face, and where I would normally have stopped, and of course this is, unless you were there with me, it would be hard to make this clear. But let's say, for example, I used to get this soap and put it on my face and start lathering and saw that the lather was starting to come through. Thought, oh yeah, this is great. I'd say, good, serviceable lather, looks great, there's enough peaks and all the rest of it. I've ticked all the boxes, and then I say, no, this time I just keep going. Now, whether lockdown has done that and given me more time to spend on it, or I've been more thoughtful, or I've been more present with it, they're the things that I've changed, and that's made a difference to me. Having said that, I'm on soft water, so the water where I am is not hard. It's basically rainwater. So the challenges of hard water, depending on where you live and what your circumstances, you'd need to adjust for those as well. But yeah, I guess I've just done those little things, and that's made a difference. Now, a synthetic brush versus an animal hair brush, is the technique different? Only slightly. Okay, with an animal hairbrush, obviously the soaking is quite important, and the wringing out, no matter how much you try, you're not going to be able to get all the water out, and that's a good thing. That's fine. That's fine. But I tend to lather heavier on an animal hairbrush than I do a synthetic, but I lather more. I load longer with both brushes, with both types of brushes, whether it's animal or synthetic. They're the things that have changed for me, and I've done them with purpose, and I've been there in that moment and said, right, this is what I'm going to do. And I have found that it's improved my lather, it's improved my shave, it's improved how I enjoy shaving even more, if that was possible. I enjoy shaving even more. So I spend more time with it. I just don't stop. I let it, I really, really spend time with it. Good point. I prefer to work water in it. Yes. It really gives me more control of the density and allows me to customize my experience. Yeah. It's the same thing. Put too much salt in a dish, you've ruined it. Go incrementally, same thing with soap. But so what happens generally speaking, if we've gone too much, we go back to the bowl or back to the soap and start trying to introduce more product. I have found, okay, so here's a contentious thing. Tell me if this is your experience. I have found that if I have put in too much water and then try and correct it by going back for more product, it's not the same as me having started with a small amount of water and built up incrementally. May have ended up with the same amount of water in the end. I mean, I haven't, sort of measured the precise amounts. This is a qualitative exercise, not a quantitative one. But I found that doing that has produced a better shave for me rather than trying to correct it. If you've ever mixed cement, putting in more cement, more sand, you've stuffed it. You've gone too far. That's what I'm thinking. That's the thing. So I agree with you, Eric. I think it's just do it slowly and enjoy it. Elias, lovely to see. Well said, Con. Well, I don't know what part of it is well said, but thank you, Ilya. That's very nice of you to say that. I suspect you're referring to being mindful and staying there and changing things. Change things. Try different things when you're shaving. Just try different things. But one thing I would encourage you to do is spend a bit more time. I know we want to be in and out and all that sort of stuff. Shave when you've got the time, or get up 15 minutes earlier, or do whatever it is, and just spend more time with it. And I guarantee you won't know yourself. It's just brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it. I love it. That's what I've changed. What have we got there? Alex has said, absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and create what is your own. That's well said, Alex. I couldn't have said that better myself. So going back to Leon, I hope that's kind of made things a little bit clear. I don't want to. This is not some sort of esoteric art, that we're trying to. It's what works for us. Remember, water is different. There are hard waters and there are softer waters. If you're on town water and the authorities that are treating your water have put in, they're obviously treating it with chlorine and all those other bits and pieces, they must have some sort of effect on it. So just experiment. Take your time. But I would suggest go drier on the brush and load a little bit heavier and spend a bit more time. Those three things have resulted in me having a really, really cool shave. I loved it. It was just something that I felt was on the money. Do we have any other questions? I'm looking along here. There's just people. No, that's about it, I think. Well, look, the time has come for me to talk product spotlights. Yep, it's that time. Product spotlight. Yes, no surprises. I love Tabac. I'm falling in love with it even more now. Tabac has produced a product which I think, I don't know, did they do some market research? There's a new chief executive officer at Mora & Wirtz, who's the company that manufactures Tabac. And he is doing some very interesting things. He came across from L'Oreal, has worked all over Europe, and he's a German guy, and has worked with, I would imagine, focus groups. He's spoken to a lot of people and said, listen, what are we going to do with this brand? We've got to bring it into this century. People are modern. They want to smell nice. They want to do this. What are we going to do? And I'm sure one of the conversations was Tabac. Man, Tabac is just, it's atomic. It's too much. You've got to love the smell. And if you don't love the smell, there has to be a dial on it where you can dial it right down and turn the volume down a little bit. It's like Tabac is like having your favorite piece of music that you cannot control the volume on. You love the music, it's great, but it's always loud, or it's always at that point where you don't want to hear music. Sometimes you want music in the background. So I think Tabac has either listened to people, they've conducted focus groups, they've gone to market, and they've come up with a product that is, to me, look, I don't like anything that starts with the word light, diet, mild, any of this stuff. I think, oh no, do we need more weakness? We need more weakness in our product. We want strength. We want that. No. Here it is. Here it is. This is a product, which if I can get it in focus, is the mild aftershave fluid. Now, this is their aftershave. Let me tell you, it contains alcohol. So if before you start having a fit and saying, oh my God, what are they doing? Why have they not? It contains alcohol. It's for me now, this, if I'm going to put aftershave on that has the word Tabac original on it, I'm going to go with the fluid. I can't use the other stuff anymore after I've used this, and I'll tell you why. Firstly, it's a fluid, which means fluid is just a basic word that says it takes the shape. So you can have a liquid and a gas, mix them together, and they take the shape of the container that they're in. I know liquids do that as well. But in this particular instance, they've added some ingredients and taken some out, or at least reduced the amount. They have reduced the amount of alcohol. If you have sensitive skin, if you suffer from rosacea, if you have an acne problem, if you've got any of these problems and you think that using an alcohol-based aftershave is too much for you, then this mild stuff is the bomb. It is fantastic. The consistency of this product is very, very interesting. When you open the, in fact, I've even had to put a staff pick on that. That's how much I love. We love it. $25, beautiful stuff. When you pour some into your hand, see if I can do it here. I might just do some. See if I can. I don't know whether this is going to work, but let me just show you. See how it's not pouring out? It's not pouring out. It's like an oil, right? I don't know if you can see that. It isn't. You can't see it. If I can get in there. Can I? No. Get my face out of the way. Forget it. No, I can't. Anyway, let me just... It's an oil, right? It's oil-like. Sorry. I just have to do this. So it is like a very, very light... So it's not like a heavy oil. It's like a light oil. And it contains one of my favorite products, Hamilelis virginiana, which is witch hazel. So it's an astringent, it tightens the skin, it makes things look beautiful. It's not tacky, it's easily absorbed. And I think they've hit it on the head here. They've nailed it with this product. Now, the question everyone's going to ask is, does it smell the same? Yes, it does. It does. But the volume... Okay, see, this is the thing. We're going to use arbitrary things now. If the regular Tabac aftershave is a 9. This is about a 6-ish, 6.5. But I can smell it. You can pick up the different notes. In other words, I think the original Tabac aftershave was very, 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 very strong. It was great that you could smell it 3 weeks later. But this one, I feel that it's better for your skin. It just feels much better for your skin. It's not a liquid, as I said. It's a fluid. And look, I was struggling to get that stuff out, right? I mean, it just drops out, right? So it basically is the same container as the aftershave splash. It drops out, but it's very, 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 very good. It's so soothing. I've been using it for a while now, and I thought, no, got to get it in. This is very, very good product. So I would thoroughly recommend it. I have to say, I'm not going to go back to the regular aftershave. I like the sting. This does give you sting, not as much as the original. Okay, so if you want that real bracing, stinging feeling from Tabac, stay where you are. If, however, you have sensitive skin, you like it, but it sometimes irritates you, or you want something that's just a little bit more than alcohol and substances you can't pronounce, then I would seriously get you to consider that. Look, it's fantastic. For me now, if I'm having a Tabac Tuesday or a Tabac Thursday or a Tabac any day, I'm going to be using that particular thing. From now on, that's it. That's it. We're also going to talk about their soaps at some other stage, not today. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about the direction that I think the company is taking in. But it's very, very good. Oh, look, I'm loving it. Smell that. Oh. You can't smell it? Tough titties. You can't smell it. You should be here. Anyway, I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Non-greasy, easily absorbed. It's not sticky. It's not like it looks like an oil and kind of behaves like one, but once you put it on your skin, it goes, and it feels really good. It's nourishing. Tabac is now going down this nourishing path. They're doing some stuff there. They're changing things. They're changing things up. They've got beard balms now and moustache waxes and all that sort of stuff in that brand. So if you're a fan, great, give it a try. If you're not a fan and you've been on the fence and you think, I want to smell like an old man. It wants to smell like my granddad. I don't want to smell like my granddad. Give it a go, because this is toned down a little bit. As I said, toned down with alcohol, has witch hazel in it, feels highly restorative. I recommend it. That's all I can say about that. Love it. Yep. Well, I think the time has come to say goodbye, maybe. Do we have any other questions here? Yes, we'll keep. Now, I think there are some questions here, and I'm going to have to answer them in another. I'm going to have to answer them in another live. As I said, I don't want to keep people for longer than half an hour. It's just, look, you will never ever get that back in your life. So go out there, go for a walk, do stuff, smell the flowers, sit on a park bench, and just, yes, do what I should have done that when I was young. In the words of the great William Wordsworth, youth is wasted on the young. But Tabac, never. I would never, ever, 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 ever waste that. Thank you, folks. Really appreciate you joining us for this live. It's been an absolute blast, as always. Feel free to subscribe and tell your friends about it if you don't like them. Say, look, I really like you. You're really good friends. Watch this guy, Con. And then don't say anything. See if they return your calls from that point on. See if they want to hang out and have a beer with you. Just see. Well, that's it for me. Thanks, folks. We'll see you in the next live.